Actually, there are two worlds. There is one world called the spiritual world, and there is one world called the material world. The material world is where we are living right now. So Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he lives in the spiritual world. And he is completely Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, which means that he is completely full with bliss, knowledge and happiness. So he is completely filled with Ananda, and he is Satchit as well. So the problem is that this material world is exactly the opposite. So this material world is Asat, Achit and Nirananda. This material world does not have anything beneficial, or this material world does not have anything which is pleasurable in this world. So then the question comes, many people ask this question, how is it that Krishna, who is Satchit and Ananda, interacts with this material world, which is Asat, Achit and Nirananda, which means it is neither eternal nor it is full of knowledge, and it does not contain bliss, in the sense that it is full of ignorance. So to answer that question, actually we have to consider the manifestation of Lord Shiva. So in the Brahma Samhita it is described that just like milk converts into yogurt, or milk can turn into dahi, like many of you may know dahi. Yeah. But dahi cannot convert into milk. So if you make milk into dahi, you can't make, if you want the milk back, you can't get it back. Similarly, Krishna manifests himself into Shiva. And the reason he manifests himself into Shiva is so that he can control this material universe. That is why Krishna is known as Ishvara, or sometimes he is even known as Maheshwara. Ishvara means one who is the Lord of this universe. So one who is the ruler or controller of this universe is known as Ishvara. So that is why Lord Shiva has a unique position. So what is the material world? Material world is actually none other than a manifestation of Parvati Devi. So Parvati Devi or Sati Devi is the goddess of this material world. That is why this material world is known as, or she is known as Durga. What is the meaning of Durga? Durga means difficult or very hard. So because it is very difficult for us to cross over this material universe and go to the spiritual universe, that is why her name is Durga also. So it is very difficult to overcome her energy, to go across from this universe to the material universe. So because Krishna himself, he does not touch the material universe, he remains completely aloof from this material universe. This responsibility of managing this material universe is given to Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is the direct incarnation of Krishna, who actually manages this material universe. And in doing so, he actually comes in contact with the three modes. Now you might ask, what are these three modes? These three modes are nothing but Sattva Guna, Rajas Guna and Tamas Guna. So it is explained in the Shastras that Lord, you know, the Trimurti is there, like the Trinity concept is there, that you have Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So just like there is a Trinity in Christianity, like that there is a Trinity or Trimurti in the Vedic canon also. And over there it is described that, you know, the three deities that are there, they are responsible for creation, maintenance and destruction of this universe. So who is the deity responsible for creation? Brahma. Yeah, as we all know, Brahma is the one who is responsible for creation. Does anyone know what guna he is in? Sattva, Rajas or Tamas? Yeah, he is in the mode of Rajas actually. So if you think about it, it makes sense. Rajas is the mode, it's the mode like which inspires activity. Like if you want to do something, if you want to initiate activity, that is Rajas guna. Like when you have some kind of passion in you, that's when you create something. Like on New Year's Day, for example, like everyone comes into the mode of passion, they make resolutions. I will go to the gym, I will do this, I will do that. Yeah, and then it falls apart. So then maintenance is done by which guna? Sattva guna, Rajas guna or Tamas guna? Rajas is gone. So it will be Sattva or Tamas. Which one is done by, which mode maintains? Sattva guna. Yeah, because starting or going to the gym or making a resolution to go to the gym is easy. Breaking that resolution is easy. But maintaining that resolution is hard. So that responsibility is taken by Vishnu actually. So maintenance of the universe is taken by Vishnu. And then destruction is there. So who performs the destruction? That is Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva takes on the mode of ignorance. And he, using that mode of Tamas Guna, he destroys the material universe. Now you might say, oh, Lord Shiva takes a material mode of ignorance. He takes the tamasguna. Does that mean he is influenced by tamasguna? Well, the Shastras explain that he is actually above the gunas, but occasionally by the will of the Lord, by the will of Krishna, sometimes he comes under the mode of tamasguna. So actually Lord Shiva is explained as in, there is one scripture. How many of you know Kalidas? You all know Kalidas? Kalidas was a person who wrote this book called Kumara Sambhava. And in Kumara Sambhava, the birth of Kartikeya is described. And over there it is explained that Lord Shiva is a Dhira. So Dhira means one who is not affected by the material modes. But still, he goes on to describe, Kalidas goes on to describe that sometimes by the will of the Lord, he actually comes under the mode of ignorance. So he is actually a very interesting personality. Srila Prabhupada used to say that there are two tattvas that are very, very difficult to understand. What are those two tattvas? One is Guru Tattva and one is Shiva Tattva. Why? Because they are identical. They are one with Krishna and at the same time they are separate from Krishna. So it is difficult for us to understand them. But we will see how so let's discuss the oneness of Lord Vishnu or Krishna. Krishna and Vishnu are one and the same. And Lord Shiva. So the oneness is there in the sense that they are both Ishvara. Ishvara in the sense that they manage and they are responsible for the protection of this universe. So we see that in many cases, whenever the demigods or when the Devtas need help, they approach Lord Brahma and they approach Lord Shiva for help. Like for example, there was one person, there were a group of 3 demons actually who formed the Tripura realm. So basically they had 3 forts. So Lord Shiva was approached for that, so that he could destroy those 3 demons. And Lord Shiva ended up destroying all of them. Like how often do we see Lord Brahma destroying any demons? Like Lord Brahma does not really destroy any demons. In fact, if anything, he gives benedictions to demons. But Lord Shiva, he is engaged in destroying the demons also. So he destroys some of the demons. But at the same time, Lord Shiva also gives shelter to a lot of demons. He gives shelter to lots of Rakshasas and Asuras. Some of these Rakshasas and Asuras actually come to haunt him later. Like they actually become antagonistic towards him as well. Like there are some classic examples. There is, can anyone give an example of a demon who turned against Lord Shiva himself? Bhasmasura. Yeah, actually his name in Srimad Bhagavatam is something else. Yeah, I forgot his actual name. But yeah, Bhasmasura was one. So Bhasmasura, the story goes that he wanted a benediction from Lord Shiva that whomever he puts his hand on, that person will actually completely turn to ashes. So he wanted to try that boon on Lord Shiva. So he goes to Lord Shiva and he tries to put his hand on Lord Shiva. And then Lord Shiva starts running, it is explained. Because he gave him a boon which was extremely powerful. And then Lord Vishnu intervened, it is explained at that time. So in Srimad Bhagavatam it is explained that Lord Vishnu, he took the form of a brahmachari. And he came and convinced him that actually Lord Shiva is, like crazy. He sometimes gives benedictions even without thinking. So he said, you should test the boon. He said, why don't you go and test it? He said, test it on yourself. He says, if it is true, then nothing will happen. I mean, he says, it will probably not be true. You try it. Somehow using word jugglery, Krishna convinces that demon to touch his head. And then he touches his head and then he immediately collapses and dies. So we see that pastime is there in these scriptures. It is explained in Bhagavatam that sometimes Lord Shiva, he gives benedictions in such a way that it ends up haunting him afterwards. And there was one incident where Lord Shiva gave benediction to a Rakshasa, and that Rakshasa actually invited Lord Shiva to help him. And that Rakshasa was none other than Banasura. So in Srimad Bhagavatam it is explained that Banasura was a very, very powerful demon. And he had the benediction from Lord Shiva that Lord Shiva would come and protect him whenever he needs that help. So then it is explained that Banasura's daughter fell in love with Krishna's grandson, who was Aniruddha. And then when Banasura found out he wanted to wage a war, he said, I will have a war against Krishna. So then they have a huge war, Krishna and Banasura. And during that war, Banasura summons Lord Shiva to fight on his behalf. But it is explained that during the fight, Lord Krishna, he defeated Lord Shiva because his purpose was to save his devotee, who was Aniruddha. So then Krishna, he defeated Lord Shiva and he defeated Banasura. But then Lord Shiva came to ask Krishna for benediction. He said that, I've already promised my devotee that I will protect him. So can you please not kill him? So Krishna had actually cut off the arms and the legs of Banasura. And at that time with his Sudarshan Chakra, he was just about to cut his head off. So then Lord Shiva appealed. And because of Lord Shiva's appeal, at that time, Krishna did not kill Banasura. In fact, he gave him a benediction. And he spared his life. So we can see here that sometimes Lord Shiva himself is impelled to act on the behalf of his devotees. Even though his devotees may be Rakshasas. Now, do we see any devotees of Krishna that are Rakshasas or Asuras? There is one actually. His name is Vritrasura. There was one devotee of Krishna who was a demon. But actually everyone knew he was a devotee of Krishna. And even Indra, who was the one who was wanting to kill Vritrasura, was so scared and he was shaking because he knew that if he kills Vritrasura, he was going to incur a very, very grievous offense and sin. So he was shaking and he did not want to kill Vritrasura. But the other demons who are there, who are generally the devotees of Lord Shiva, they generally get killed by either the devotees, by the Devtas, sometimes by Lord Shiva himself. So it is important to note that, like for example, like we know that Ravana was a very, very great devotee of Lord Shiva. So Ravana, it is explained that when Rama killed Ravana, what happens? So after Rama kills Ravana, Shiva, but if you read Ramayana, you will understand. Not watch TV serial, but if you read the Ramayana, you will understand that actually Lord Shiva descends down on the earth after Rama kills Ravana and he embraces Lord Rama. He hugs him, gives him a hug and he says, thank you for killing Ravana. So sometimes Lord Shiva himself is not happy with his own devotees, so-called devotees, that he actually inspires or he is waiting for the Supreme Lord to kill his so-called devotees because they are causing so much disturbance in this material universe. So we see that the devotees of, or the bhaktas, or the, you could say the worshippers of Lord Shiva, sometimes or most often they get annihilated. But are there any devotees of Lord Shiva who are, like good in their heart? Like you could say that, well, these are demons, they took shelter of Shiva. But can a good person take shelter of Shiva also? The answer is yes. There are good people also who have taken shelter of Lord Shiva. In fact, it is described that during the time of our acharyas, there was one man who he was a good man and he wanted to enjoy the material world. He wanted to enjoy all the riches in the material world. So he prayed to Lord Shiva and he asked Lord Shiva for a benediction. He said that I want to have the most valuable thing which I can possess in this material world. So Lord Shiva told him that actually you should go to a person called Sanatana Goswami. This Sanatana Goswami lives in Vrindavan. So he says, go to him. Over there you will find the most valuable thing. So he had faith in Lord Shiva. So he goes to Sanatana Goswami in Vrindavan. He travels all the way from Kashi to Vrindavan. And over there he finds Sanatana Goswami. And he asks him that actually Lord Shiva came to me in a dream. And he said that you have the most valuable thing in this whole universe. So then at that point Sanatana Goswami says that yes, I have a touchstone. Now I don't know how many of you know what is a touchstone. A touchstone is a stone which if you touch to anything it becomes gold. It is explained. So he said that, oh, you have a touchstone. He said, Sanatana Goswami said, yes, I have a touchstone. He said, can you give it to me? He said, yeah, you can find it. He said, I have thrown it in the bin. You can go and get it from the bin. So he goes into the rubbish pile and over there he searches and over there he finds that touchstone. So he becomes so happy. He's like, oh wow, this is the most valuable thing in the whole world. Like anything I touch will become gold. But he was intelligent. So he thought about it. He said that if this is the most valuable gem in the world, why is it that this Sanatana Goswami has thrown this in the dustbin? So he says actually this means that Sanatana Goswami has something that is more valuable. So he says, okay, I will go back to Sanatana Goswami and ask him, no, you are hiding something from me. He says, I want to know what is more valuable than this touchstone. So then Sanatana Goswami says, actually the thing that is more valuable than this touchstone is the holy name of Krishna. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He says that within this names of Lord Krishna is embedded an entire treasure that you have no access to. So he said, if you chant this name of Hare Krishna, he said you will gain access to the most valuable thing which is there in this whole, not just material world, but spiritual world. So that man, he had faith. So he chanted Hare Krishna in the association of Sanatana Goswami. And within a matter of few days, he was able to see the entire Golok Vrindavan. So not just the Vrindavan that is there at that time, like the little forest and little dust. He was able to see the real Vrindavan behind what was there, superficially to our material eyes. So he was able to see that, the trees were filled with emeralds. Like instead of leaves, they had emeralds. When he went to the riverbank near Yamuna, he could see that the Yamuna was not just black water. Yamuna was flowing with nectar, like sweeter than whatever you can drink, like mango color. It was way, way sweeter than that. Then on the side of the Yamuna, the riverbed was completely filled with, like, have you been to, how many of you have seen Yamuna? Yeah, you have seen Yamuna, yeah. So on the riverbed, you will see that the sand is very, very, it's almost like a brownish red color. Yeah, so he was able to see rubies on the riverbed. So he could see that actually this whole real Golok Vrindavan was becoming manifest to his eyes. So then he understood that yes, that is the real treasure that Sanatana Goswami was actually hiding from him. And how was he able to see this real treasure? He was able to see this through the blessings of Lord Shiva. Because he was a good person and he took shelter of Lord Shiva, then Lord Shiva directed him towards a pure devotee of Krishna so that he may be able to see the real treasure that is there in this material universe. So whenever Lord Shiva is actually pleased with someone, he actually directs them towards becoming a devotee of the Lord. Now I know personally that many, many devotees of Krishna who have become devotees of Krishna were initially devotees of Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva is really pleased with someone, he actually helps them become a devotee of the Lord. And I am not saying this. Lord Shiva says this in Srimad Bhagavatam. Like in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a group of 1,000 brothers whose names are Prachetas. Then these Prachetas, when they go to Kailash or to do their tapasya, at that time Lord Shiva appears. And Lord Shiva, he says that actually the devotees of Lord Vishnu are extremely dear to me. He says that when I see that someone is trying to become a devotee of Lord Vishnu, he says that I actually remove all the obstacles in their path. And this is a very strong statement. He says that I actually go and take the dust from the lotus feet and I put it on my head. So Lord Shiva is actually extremely humble. Like if you think about it, like we said that Lord Shiva is Maheshwara. He is the ruler of this entire universe. Now if you think about rulers, what do rulers look like? Like rulers generally get adorned with gold, they are adorned with like so many servants and they have so much paraphernalia, they ride around in chariots and things like that. But if you look at the personality of Lord Shiva, what does he look like? Like he's not even wearing proper clothes. He has a bark or a deer skin, he has snakes, he's covered in ashes, and like superficially, to one who is not trained, he looks very inauspicious. Like all the inauspicious things are there. Like he has dust from the cremation ground. Like can you imagine, like people whenever they go to cremation ground, they go back and they take a bath. But Lord Shiva has covered himself in dust from cremation ground. And then he also has poison. Like he drinks poison also. Like we know that when the Samudra Manthan, like when the churning of the ocean happened, at that time Lord Shiva was not participating in that. So to make Lord Shiva participate in that churning of the ocean, it is described that Lord Vishnu actually gave him the poison that came out of the churning of the ocean. Because otherwise he would have no involvement in that Leela at all. And to show how great Lord Shiva is, basically Lord Vishnu gives him the poison. And it is explained that Lord Shiva took that as Vishnu Prasad or Krishna Prasad and he drank it. And because of that, the poison didn't have any effect on him. So then because of that, actually, does anyone know what is the real color of Lord Shiva? People think it's white. Well, if I said people think, that means it's probably not white. Yeah, it's actually golden color. So he is like a very beautiful golden form. So it was explained that his beautiful golden form had a very blue neck after drinking the poison that came out of the churning of the ocean. So, and then it is explained that some drops of that poison fell on the ground, and that poison essentially gave rise to the venomous living entities like the snakes and the scorpions and other venomous creatures essentially. So Lord Shiva, we can see here that Lord Shiva, whenever he is pleased with someone, he actually wants to make that person a devotee of Krishna. That is why we see that in Srimad how many of you recite Vishnu Sahasranama? You know Vishnu Sahasranama? So Vishnu Sahasranama is 1000 names of Lord Vishnu. So at the end of Vishnu Sahasranama, after Bhishma recites the 1000 names of Lord Vishnu, at the end, Parvati asks Lord Shiva. There is one famous verse, some of you might know it. It says, Parvati Ovacha, Keno Payana Lagunam, Vishnu Nama Sahasrakam, Patyate Pandite Nityam, Shrotu Vichami Aham Prabhu. She says that remembering or reciting these 1000 names of Vishnu is extremely difficult. She says, how is it possible for someone to recite all of these 1000 names? Is there an easier solution? Shrotu Vichami Aham Prabhu. She says, I want to hear, please tell me. So then it says, Ishwara Ovacha. Does anyone know the verse that he recites? Lord Shiva recites after that. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasra Nama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varaname. So Shiva says that taking the name of Lord Ram once equals 1000 names of Lord Shiva. Rame Rame Manorame Sahasra Nama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varaname. Which means by taking one name of Lord Ram equals taking 1000 names of Lord Vishnu. So Lord Shiva, essentially it is described that he chants the name of Lord Ram. Like if you see Lord Shiva, generally he's sitting in a meditating kind of posture. So has anyone asked the question, whom is he meditating on? Or what is he doing in his dhyana? If child cannot sit quiet, can you please take her outside? Yeah. So we were discussing something important. So yeah, so basically, now where was I? Huh? Oh yeah, whom does Lord Shiva actually worship? So he takes the name, so okay, we discussed that he takes the name of Lord Ram. But does anyone know which Lord or which form of Lord Vishnu he worships? He worships Lord Sankarshan actually. So Sankarshan is, many of you might know Sankarshan as Anantasesh. But Sankarshan is also a different personality. He is white in color and he wears blue clothes. He looks just like Lord Balaram, but he has 4 arms. Lord Balaram has 2 arms, Sankarshan has 4 arms. So it is described that Lord Shiva actually worships Lord Sankarshan also. So that is the form that he meditates on and he chants the name of Lord Ram. And whenever someone wants to advance in devotional service or whenever they want to become a devotee of Lord Krishna or Vishnu, at that time Lord Shiva helps them. And if a person is antagonistic to Vishnu, then at that time Lord Shiva will not hesitate to assist the demigods or assist the Devkas and assist Vishnu in sometimes even destroying that person. Like for example, we see in the case of Ravana, like he becomes extremely happy when such a person is destroyed. So to really understand the mood of Lord Shiva, we have to actually read the scriptures. We should read Srimad Bhagavatam, we should read Bhagavad Gita also. Over there the real mood of Lord Shiva is explained. In fact, if you read the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, there is one section called Gita Mahatmya. Gita Mahatmya means the glorification of Gita. Over there, Lord Shiva himself personally says, Ego Devo Devaki Putra Ego Devo Devaki Putra Devo Ego Shastram Devaki Putra Gita. He says that there is only one person who should be worshipped, and that is Devaki Putra Krishna. And there is only one book that everyone should read, and that is Devaki Putra Gita, which means Bhagavad Gita. So many people might ask, like what should we do on Shivratri? Like, like as devotees of Lord Krishna, like what should we do? The best thing to do on Shivratri is to listen to the glories of Lord Shiva and to actually read Bhagavad Gita in front of Lord Shiva. Like many people, they try to offer Bel Patra and try to bathe the linga of Shiva with milk and all kinds of paraphernalia and all of that. But actually, Lord Shiva is satisfied with that and he is somewhat pleased, but he becomes even more pleased. Like if Lord Shiva is himself saying that there is only one book, which is Devaki Putra Gita, he will be more pleased if you actually sit in front of Lord Shiva, you have a photo of Lord Shiva, and you read Bhagavad Gita and recite Bhagavad Gita. Like Lord Shiva will personally manifest and he will actually be there during that recitation. In fact, it is even said that when we do Aarti of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here, how many of you here do not know Gaura Aarti? Is there anyone who does not know the Gaura Aarti here? How many of you know the Gaura Aarti? So everyone else is in the middle or like no half, no like you know Gaurati. How many of you don't know Gaurati? There's no shame in raising your hand. That's fine. Okay, you don't know Gaurati. That's fine. I will show you one section. Like I will show you the Gaurati here. It's quite interesting. So this is Gaurati there. So this is the Aarti we sing every evening actually. So here you will see that the last line of Gaurati is what? Shiva Shuka Narada Preme Gada Gada Prakati Vinoda Dekhe Gaurara Sampada. Which means that when the Aarti of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is happening, when we are doing the Gaura Aarti, at that time personalities like Shiva, Shuka, Narada, they are coming and they are Preme Gada Gada, which means that they are becoming so exhilarated in like love of God at that time. They are attending this Aarti and they are becoming so blissful in this Aarti. Bhakti Vinoda Dekhe Gaurara Sampada, which means that he is seeing, Bhakti Vinod Thakur is seeing how all of these devotees or how all of these personalities are serving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the best way to please Lord Shiva, is to discuss Bhagavad Gita and to discuss the pastimes of Lord Krishna, read Srimad Bhagavatam and worship Lord Krishna, and then at that time Lord Shiva will personally come and personally manifest himself, and he will be very pleased and he will bestow all his benedictions upon all of the other devotees also. So having said that, it's 8 o'clock, so I will finish there. If anyone has any questions, any comments, or if you don't agree with something, you can discuss. Yes, bro?
Usually we have misconception, most of the people from India and Nepal, that, okay, we used to know that Maheshwar is Shiva and Shiva is the supreme God. What if like we started suddenly worshipping Krishna, Shiva will get agitated. You get a...
Yeah, we generally feel. Yeah, generally the conception is there, especially even I had that. Like, we used to worship Lord Shiva. And then we think that, okay, well, if we start worshipping Lord Krishna, then Shiva will get angry. Like, we should worship both at the same time. Like, we should worship Lord Shiva and worship Lord Krishna at the same time. But actually, if you read the scriptures, you will understand that the mentality of Shiva is not so cheap. Like, for example, like the Christians and the Jewish people, like they have this kind of mentality that, you know, like God says that if you don't worship me, I will kill you, I will smite you. Like, actually, the deities in Vedic culture, they are not like that. Like, they are not going to smite you if you don't worship. So basically, actually, in fact, if anything, through the scriptures, we know that whenever we worship Lord Vishnu, or whenever we worship Lord Krishna, Shiva is actually more pleased than if you worship him directly. Like, he will come to remove all of your obstacles from the path of bhakti and through your life if you worship Lord Vishnu. But if you worship him directly and don't worship Lord Vishnu, he may or may not help you to the fullest extent. Because you could still become a bad person. But if you worship Lord Vishnu, then he will help you reform into a good person. And if you are genuine, like the story we related, then he will direct you towards the devotees of Krishna, like Sanatana Goswami, etc., like that story we discussed. So, Lord Shiva is not envious. Like, does anyone know what the name Shiva means?
Auspicious.
Shiva means auspicious. Another meaning of Shiva means pure. So, someone who is pure, he's not going to have enviousness or jealousy that, oh, you're worshipping Lord Shiva, oh, you're worshipping Vishnu, okay, I will come and destroy you. Like, that kind of mentality is not there in the Vedic literature. If anything, they will, all the demigods, all the Devi Devta, including Lord Shiva, they are extremely pleased when a person becomes a devotee of Krishna. And that is said by the Devi Devtas in Bhagavatam. Like, when we see that Krishna appears, like when Krishna comes on the earth 5,000 years ago, all the Devi Devtas, they come and they offer prayers. And at that time, one of the prayers they offer is, they say that anyone who is trying to become a devotee of yours, we try to give them as much help as we can. Whatever power they have, they try to help them with that. So if the Devi Devtas and Lord Shiva, they themselves are saying this, then why don't we believe them? So we should actually believe them and we should have faith in their words as well. So this is their true nature, not what we speculate their nature might be. I hope that answers your questions.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments or thoughts or disagreements? It's fine. If you disagree, you can tell. It's fine. If you don't disagree, that's even better. That's good. Okay, so having said that, we will finish there. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So now we just have Aarti, so just request all of you to stand up for Aarti.